And I'd like to now introduce Andy Hims. Andrew Hims is from Jagger Hims, which has now become a division of Genevar, but he's certainly well familiar with the site, has been with Jagger Hims, who've been some of the lead consultants on it since the site was, even with the North Simcoe Waste Management Association, the NSWMA, before the county took it over. And I'd like to bring Andrew up to talk a little bit about the natural protective features of the site.
Thank you very much, Rob, and good morning, everybody. As Rob said, my name's Andy Hims. I've been with Jagger Hims Limited since the inception of the company in 1988 and involved in aspects of Site 41, through that time. The original work, all of the work for Site 41 was done by Doug Jager, my original partner. Doug is retired in May of this year, and I've taken over as one of the main hydrogeological consultants for the county. I just wanted to give a little bit of the chronology, not long, but just a little bit of the chronology for the approval of the site, because I think it's important to go back in time. In 1987, the original detailed groundwater report, hydrogeological report, was developed, and in 1995. The Site 41 was approved by the joint board. Now, the approval came as a result of the work in the hydrogeological report. There was no groundwater model at the time. It was a conventional analysis, techniques were used, and there was no high-density polyethylene liner involved in the design. And that was approved by the joint board at the time. The MOE issued a provisional certificate of approval in 1996, and there were several conditions attached to that approval. And some of the conditions were to go through and do a geotechnical evaluation of the design, to do additional hydrogeological information to the review agencies, to the Ministry of the Environment. From 2003 to 2006, the various agencies did technical reviews of the reports. They came from the Ministry of the Environment, Golder Associates, Dixon Hydrogeology, and through that period, Jagger Hims Limited provided technical responses to all of the questions that came in. There were very comprehensive reviews done by the MOE, Golder, and Dixon. In October 2006, an amended CFA was issued, which approved the final design for the landfill site and the design and operations report. The design of the landfill site has undergone quite a process of investigation and modification based on response to comments and questions from the review agencies. The current design has a number of engineered protection layers in there. And the current design includes high-density polyethylene liner, which has undergone a lot of discussion over the last 2 or 3 years. The original reason for the liner being present was to restrict the flow of groundwater into the landfill site, not to restrict the flow of leachate contaminants out of the landfill site, but to restrict the flow of water into the site, to reduce the amount of leachate that is actually produced and handled by the county. So that's the reason for the liner. But it also adds, or provides an added protection layer in that it does restrict any potential outflow of contaminants from the landfill site. So, natural protective features. Site 41 is located in a clay plain landform. And I apologize for having some notes here, but I just want to make sure that I get everything out and everything correct. The clay plain formed by deposition of fine-grained sediments within waters of a post-glacial lake. To the east, the clay plain abuts the highland features that rise up about 100 meters or so. That upland features a fairly complex geological landform. It includes deposits of glacial till, which is a very dense mixture of sand, gravel, silt and clay. Very hard to dig through. Clay and silt and sand and gravel. Now the sand beds in the upland feature are connected hydraulically to the sand beneath the clay plane. The geology of Site 41, it's like a layer cake of deposition. There's a superficial sand layer, maybe a foot thick, 2 feet thick in places, and that's underlain by 6 to 14 meters of very fine-grained clay silt, silty clay material. It's sometimes referred to as blue clay in water well records that drillers provide. And under that is a sand deposit, and the sand deposit is an aquifer which contains usable quantities of groundwater, and that's where most people's wells are developed. The sand is variable thickness. On the one side of the property it's close to 0 meters, it's almost absent, pinches out, but underneath some of the site it's 18 meters or so thick, so about 60 feet. Then underneath that is a more dense glacial till, more sand layers down to the bedrock. So one of the protected features of the site is the natural clay base. Groundwater moves very slowly through clay material, and it's a natural liner, if you will, for landfill sites. So from that point of view, Site 41 has that in its favor. It's a good clay site. More importantly, underneath the clay is this sand deposit. And the sand deposit is, the groundwater in that sand is under pressure, because some of the recharge areas for the sand is up on the high ground to the east. So if you imagine it like similar to like a water tower, the high ground is the water tower that is recharging groundwater up there. It flows down through underneath the clay in the sand deposit, and that groundwater wants to come out. Groundwater moves from high ground to low ground, just the way a river does. It goes high ground to low. So the groundwater wants to come out, and it actually comes out at the Wye River. It discharges the Wye River. So the Wye River is called a groundwater discharge zone. That's where the groundwater comes up and into the surface water. But underneath the site, the groundwater cannot come up because it's confined by this very thick clay layer. If you can imagine it like a hose pipe underneath a layer of clay, it's pushing up on the clay. It wants to come up out of the ground. And it's evidenced by a number of flowing wells that are present in the area. And those wells go into the sand unit, and they're just open down into the sand. And the pressure of the water comes out of the aquifer up the well and can flow out. So the technical term is...
So including the one that's now contaminated on the other side of the road? Is that one of the wells you're talking about?
There's the wall.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So.
I'm just trying to get an idea of where the geology that you're talking about.
Yeah, the geology across the road is the same as the geology at Site 41. Okay. Same as that. But the hydraulic pressure in the sand aquifer underneath the clay is what provides the upward hydraulic gradients. The groundwater wants to come out. Am I allowed to take questions? I don't know. Can we wait for the questions, if you don't mind? But it's the upward hydraulic gradients that form another protective barrier for the landfill site. The groundwater wants to move upwards through the clay. So provided, the design of the landfill site is that provided there are upward gradients into the landfill site, any contaminants within the landfill site will not move down through the clay and into the aquifer. They will stay up in the landfill site. And that's the basis of the design of the landfill.